Hey, what's going on, guys? Gumby here. It's the day after Taken King has been released, so it's September 16th, 2015 now, and I just got home from work. I'm going to go back into playing Taken King when I finish this commentary, but I want to take a moment to talk about my initial thoughts of the expansion thus far. So the game's been out for about a little over 24 hours now. I played a couple hours before work yesterday morning when it was released. So it was out 5 a.m. East Coast time where I'm at, and I got home from work and I played up until probably about midnight last night. So I was able to play through the story. I've played all the new strikes that were available besides the PlayStation exclusives, obviously, because I'm on Xbox, and I've done a lot of the quests that are given to you once you finish the main story, and I'll talk about that later in the commentary. So I don't have, a lot of people are already max light level and have been playing constantly since it came out, so I don't have that much experience, but I like to think that I have enough experience to be able to talk about my first impressions thus far. What you're looking at in the background is the Undying Mind strike. So I was just doing strike playlists for one of the Vanguard quests where you have to do 5 playlists in the Vanguard, or 5 strikes in the Vanguard playlist rather. So I was just playing and I saw Undying Mind was up, so I started recording because I wanted to get some cool clips of I call it Sith lightning, but the Storm Caller against all the ultras that you face later in the strike. And then I noticed that the strike was full of Taken enemies at the beginning. So if you're not familiar with the game at all and you're watching this video blind, what the Taken new Taken enemies are, the new enemy type that is brought into the game with the Taken King expansion, Oryx. So what Taken essentially are just undead, Fallen, Vex, Cabal, and Hive. He takes them, and they're part of a whole new, I guess, kind of dimension, and they have new abilities and they're unique to the type. So like Taken Minotaurs now can go invisible, where before that was Fallen Vandals. So stuff like that. And before this strike was completely Vex, and seeing that now the Taken are kind of invading even the strike playlist in different strikes is exciting. This was my first instance because previously the strikes I played were all the new Taken King strikes. So hopefully going forward, playing some of the older strikes that were in the game, if there was more stuff like this where Taken were involved, I think that would be pretty cool. And I'll keep it updated and make some videos on the channel if I see that in the future. So that's why you're seeing Undying Mind again. I just posted a video about it when it came out on Xbox last week, but I cut out a lot of the parts that are the same, that weren't changed, and I wanted to put in the parts that before you would fight Vex and now you're fighting Taken. So that's what you're watching behind the commentary. I just wanted to brief over a couple of things since the video is not very long and these are just my initial impressions. Like I said, I was able to finish the main story for the expansion. It only took a few hours, and I didn't expect it to take much longer than that just because of what we have had in the past with Destiny's expansions. But one thing I will say that's different and great about this story mission is, even though it only took a few hours and there was only a few of them, it was memorable. And I'm excited to play it again on my Titan and my Hunter. Because there's actually narration now, and there are nice cutscenes, and there's lore that is put in front of you. So it's lore that when you hear it, you would think, oh, that would be on a Grimoire card. But now I can actually experience it in the game, and I don't have to go to a different place to read about what Bungie envisioned for the story. And not only does it go forward from where we are at in the story now onwards, it still goes back and gives you briefs on like where your ghost came from and what your ghost is in regard to how it came from the Traveler, and your ghost is specific to you. You're not just a guardian with a ghost. Your ghost is matched to you, like a soulmate, for instance. And they explain that, and it's appreciated because some people that are really diehard into the game know that, but some other people that just pick it up and play it for an FPS may not know those things. So actually giving it to the player is a nice change. I talked about the lore and the narration, but there's also outside of that living characters, and what I mean by that is you actually are now invested in characters like your Ghost and the Vanguard, like Hunter, Titan, Warlock. So prime example is Nathan Fillion voices the Hunter Vanguard. Him and then Nolan Bot. I had a lot of criticisms about Nolan Bot last week when it was released, but actually seeing cutscenes and full narration between him and especially Nathan Fillion, I'm no longer wary of Nolan Bot. Dinklebot served its purpose, and RIP. But I actually like Nolan Bot now, and Nathan Fillion. I mean, come on, it's Nathan Fillion. They could have just given him the voice. He could have voiced every single NPC in the game, and it still would have been perfect. But you feel between conversations of the Vanguards between themselves and how they each have their own personality that's relative to their class type. So Titans are very defensive, and their stance is in defense of the city rather than outreach, going to fight the Dreadnought in the Taken King. And Nathan Fillion, the Hunter, wants to go out there and approach him and take the battle to him. And Ikura, I believe, the Warlock Vanguard, she wants to learn and discover and find weaknesses so that they have an advantage when they do fight Oryx and the Taken. So they gave each NPC and each main NPC some character now. And even Amanda Holloway has personality. There's a cutscene with her and Nathan Fillion, Hunter Vanguard, where they're being sarcastic to each other. And just those little things that, I mean, honestly should have been in the game from the get-go. I'm just glad they are now. They're great additions to the story, and just to the feel and investment of yourself into a video game. So I love it so far. The last thing I want to discuss as the video's wrapping up is we're going to call it the grind, because we've always called it the grind in Destiny since day one. But it's not as much of a grind anymore, and it's a good thing. So in Destiny Year 1, both expansions included, there were a few things that you can do in endgame. You had your raids, you had a Prison of Elders, Crucible, and your strike playlists. So those all still exist. You still have all your old raids, you still have Prison of Elders, you still have your strike playlist. They're a little bit different, but I'll talk about that in another video. And you still have your Crucible. But another thing that you have after finishing the story, and so that's all considered endgame, is you have quests now. Or they might be called missions in the game. I call them quests because I'm an old MMO guy. But you finish the story, you finish those main story missions, and normally you'd think it would be over, and now I'm going to go grind strikes for gear or weapons. But now you have these quests that add on to the lore in the story that aren't technically part of the main story, but they grow in further past what the main story took you. So you're grinding for gear and you're grinding for weapons, but you're not doing the same thing over and over and over again, back to back to back. You're doing these quests, which you can do. You can just run strike playlists. I'm going to do that later today. I'm going to try to get some gear by just running strikes. But you have this other option that if you want to break outside of Crucible and old raids, is you have these quests that have specific you have to do specific things for a mission, or you have to collect certain items or kill certain things or do some research, and that just changes up the monotony of the game, of the grind, I should say. So I'm loving it. I'm grinding for 280 light to try to do the raid this weekend, and other than that, I'm just really enjoying myself. It seems like overall the opinion is shared that are playing the Taken King, and I'm excited that Destiny is improving and it's changing, evolving, and that the developers, Bungie, is listening to the community and listening to us when we say we want more narration, we want more story, we want more lore, we want more variation and endgame content. And it's want, and it's naggy, but we're gamers and we're nerds and we're going to be that way, and they're listening and they're improving the game. And this is why I'm investing so much, is because I loved year one even with all the negatives, and that investment and has paid off in spades with the Taken King. So I'm excited to see where it goes from here. Other than that, I ran my commentary a little long, so I put some Crucible footage that I got last night in the background. But hope you guys are enjoying. If you haven't picked up the game yet, I highly recommend it. I'll be putting up more content as the time progresses and as I get more into the game. But I want to go and play now. So I hope your day is beer and Skittles, everybody. Have a great day, and good luck, Guardians.
One final push and victory is yours. Your team ignited the rift. You played with heart, Guardian. Their loss was inevitable.